Hi, this is Rochelle with Live in Vibrancy, and today's the final of the three-part video series on boundaries and your self-concept. So in this video, I'm talking about what to expect when setting boundaries and then what to do when what to expect happens. So first of all, if you find this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe and all the things if you're not subscribed. And if you are subscribed, just know that I love you being here with me. Thank you. And don't forget about the notification bell. So before I get into what to expect when you set a boundary, I want to revisit what boundaries are and what they're not. So boundaries are about you. They are about your feelings and about your wants and needs. They are not about manipulating, controlling, coercing another person into doing something that you want them to or something different so that you can be okay. So seeing something that falls along the lines of, if you don't do this or if you keep doing this, I will do this. This is not a boundary. This is an act of aggression. I want you to feel the energy, like say that and then feel the energy that's underneath that. Boundaries are essentially the separation between you and someone else. They're your expression of your experience and the experiences you want to have. So boundaries are I want, boundaries are I feel, I will, I won't, but they're not if you, then I won't. They are just I won't or I will. And the caveat to that is we don't lead with boundaries as like sort of the already assuming the other person is going to cross them. So if you meet someone and you say, I won't accept blah, 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 you've already assumed that they're going to show up that way, and that is also going to put them on the defense because you have come out very defensive. And so they'll mirror that. And just an aside, when we show up defensively, it actually looks like an offense to other people. So they then show up defensively, which looks offensive to us. And that starts the back and forth. So basically, you want to, it'll be things like, that doesn't feel right to me, but from a place of not blaming, just expressing your inner experience. And later in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about why. So things like, I want more connection in our relationship. The caveat being, boundaries are not about trying to make someone do something. So if you say, I want more connection in our relationship to someone who is pulling away from you, check in whether you're saying it to make them come closer or whether you're just expressing your experience. If you are saying it to try to make them come closer and do what you want, this is subtle. And if you don't drop into the energy that's motivating you, you'll convince yourself that maybe you have no motive or a positive motive. But that's actually coming, if you are trying to get them to do something, that's an expression that's coming from a place of lack. And so often what happens is they will pull away further and you will feel disappointed. And that's how you will know that you are coming from a place of lack, is your disappointment at their behavior. You'll see that they essentially, what drove you to say that was an energy of lack. Because creation is about surrender. It's not about coercion. So you want to be expressing your boundaries from a point of creation, from like an open space. This is who I am. And people will, I'll get to that. So anyway, talking endlessly about boundaries is not effective. That's often where we are expressing ourselves, and if the other person still is showing up in a way that sort of reflects the old way that we've shown up, then just expressing them again and again and again tends to be ineffective, especially in the long run, because you're not actually then showing up, using, like, embodying that person, taking an action. And again, I want to really go back to the place, this is not a do this or I will situation. And I'll give you an example here in a minute. So you want to always apply the energy rule really to understand why. What's the energy behind an act of aggression? Think about that. If you are telling someone a boundary, like as a threat, then you can feel what that energy is. It might be coercion, it might be control, it might be, right? You're already in a place of discomfort, so you are trying to push them into a place so you don't feel uncomfortable. But this is not love. And so often in a relationship, and obviously you have to use your best judgment here. If someone is attacking you, love is not what you're applying. You need to be protecting yourself. But if you are trying to create connection where there's separation, threats and coercion under the guise of boundaries is not the way to do that. So anyway, I'm really getting kind of off course here. But you'll be choosing your own actions based on your boundaries. This is the most effective way to set a boundary once you've expressed what you feel or want. And this is going to take you to the last video, because the reason you don't take that action is because the energy that's going on inside of you most likely needs to be resolved so that you can take that action. So you're not being held back by fear or stories that you'll be unlikable. So for example, if I want to be more important in someone's life, then I have to choose not to be available to be their last minute choice. And this will feel difficult because a part of you will want to go. But the part of you that is becoming the person who is more important in their life has to have an interesting enough life that you're not, that you essentially are just recognizing your own value, right? And you're setting this boundary from an open, non-judgmental space. So you are choosing not to be their last minute choice all the time. I mean, maybe once in a while, last minute things can happen, but you want to really take an objective look at and whatever your situation is. And you want to be setting your boundaries from that open, non-judgmental space, because think of what taking an action from a resentful space will create. What thoughts and assumptions about yourself accompany that feeling of resentment? So I don't want to get too much into that again, because today I'm talking about what to expect when you set a boundary. So the first thing is, it's important to understand that it's quite normal for people to push back in one form or another when you set a new boundary. And here are a few reasons. First, if someone's response to your expression of how you feel or what you want is quite emotional, or then you want to recognize that you have in the past let their emotional response push you into showing up the way you have been in the past. Or perhaps this might be the first time they've shown up emotional, in which case this is, they are wanting you to go back to being the way you are, and this is the strategy that they're using. And most likely it's an unconscious strategy, so don't get hooked into the way that they are reacting. So you want to avoid, normally what happens is they're going to show up in an emotional way, and because you want to avoid that negative response, perhaps you feel like you like to avoid conflict. So you end up crossing your own boundaries. And you will continue to do this and continue to do this until you're pushed to the point where you've built up a lot of anger or resentment, which is a protection energy, and then you lash out, or if you're really conflict avoidant, you use a passive aggressive strategy, and that's where you're doing something, again, to coerce someone or to punish them or to teach them a lesson. And these are not energies that connect. These are energies that pull people apart. So both extreme responses actually often hurt your relationship. So whether it's a friendship, intimate relationship, work, it doesn't matter what it is. These are not the kinds of strategies that will often get you the long-term results that you are creating. So, and often they are not the response of the person who has it. So second, setting a boundary is you consciously changing. So when you change, the people around you are pushed to change because we're always mirroring one another. They're used to you showing up in a certain way, and change is uncomfortable, just as their responses are likely demonstrating. So in general, people don't like to do it. They come up against a lot of resistance with change. This is the same resistance when you're creating something new. There is a part of you that resists this change because it's unknown, so it will push back to what it's known. And so anyway, that's again off topic. What a surprise. So your change, but your change is conscious. And they are unconscious about the change that they are experiencing. They just know it feels different and often uncomfortable because they have this moment of like, wait, you've never shown up this way before. And so this is why they essentially will unconsciously respond in a way that essentially will or will not, you decide whose reality you are creating, yours or theirs, push you back into who you've been, or you're going to choose who you've been and you are going to maintain this space. And again, that's where you're going to use work similar to what I provided in video 2. Okay, and third, as you become this new version of you that lives life like respecting your desires, and among people who reflect that, a previous version of a reality is likely to arise for you to decide. We often call these circumstances. So circumstances aren't something that are happening to you. They aren't stopping you. The power is not in the circumstances. The power is in you. They are arising to show you what's in the way. So the other person or circumstance doesn't make you feel a certain way. They're actually just revealing what's already there. So the best analogy I've heard was from Alyssa Nabriga, and so she has this example. Think of your trigger. It's like a guest in your home. They're in your home sleeping, and an external person or circumstance comes knocking on the door. It awakens your trigger, which then answers the door, right? Now you can see what trigger is there, what misconception you have about yourself that is creating or contributing to a low self-concept or a limited self-concept. And so there's wisdom within all your misconceptions that will take you towards letting them go and revealing that true limitless self. And so your circumstances are not there to derail you. They're really there to reveal and to test. Are you the person who has what you want? Or is that just something you're telling yourself? You have to embody it. It is an embodied state. Or are you still identifying with limitations that are creating your current results? And so you are either creating a new reality or you're recreating your experience of an old reality. So when you create a boundary and someone pushes up against it, it's important to recognize first what's going on in your internal condition, because this is going to determine whether you continue to embody that person, and that's where all the internal work really happens. This is where you have the most capacity for creating change and to manifest quickly, is to be able to move through these circumstances and to hold your position as that person. And each time you don't, that's okay, as long as you move back again. And it's better to do it incrementally. This work is very powerful when you do it incrementally rather than trying to force your way through, because these protector parts will see you have an agenda and they will push back. They actually get stronger. And so ideally we want to integrate them. We don't want to resist them or condemn them or try to push them away, because then that just keeps them there. And so ideally you are going to use these people who push back to reveal your misconceptions so that you can move through them and you can become the person who holds up those boundaries. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. I am going to make sure that there are links connected to all these videos in each of the 3 videos. And I look forward to seeing you next week when I am going to be talking about levels of consciousness and what this means to creating and how this may or may not be contributing to your results. I look forward to seeing you then.